geldi mi?
Sen girdin mi?
Girdim.
Sen ekranını yaptın mı?
Kamera basmıyor. Girdim işte.
Şimdi bizi
Nasıl görünüyor ama?
Okay, you can help me. There are more here. You can.
I'm fine. Ilim, are you coming for the event?
Good evening, Excellencies, Honorable ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, welcome to the opening ceremony. My name is Babosman. I'm in charge of the academic platform in the Food Dialogue, and I'll be your guide to see all of you here eager to engage in humanity through millennia. However, recently, that issue of tolerance seems to be withering away and lacking throughout society and humanity, just like water in the desert. This is why, as a food dialogue, we extol tolerance in religion in order to build a coherent culture of common coexistence based on knowledge and devoid of all biases. So, to start, I will invite Gregory and Mr. Howard to pray for us. Please, Father, Mr. Howard.
Lord, Father, we thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your kindness and thank you for your goodness. Thank you for the gathering that you have made of us here today. Lord God Almighty, as well, we give this exercise. We ask you to use us to do today, and by the let it be a big those who have gathered us together, who have been the instruments of your work and your labor, and bless us of your preparation. And bless all of us who are here. That as the speakers will speak, those who will hear also will hear well. To the glory of your name. In Jesus Christ, and Lord.
Thank you, Father. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Umar Lawal Faisal, Amir of Abuja Municipal Area Council for the prayer. Welcome, Mr. Umar Lawal Faisal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I take refuge with Allah against the بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Open our chest. وَيَسْرِ أَمِينِكَ وَأَتِعِينِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِنْ لِسَانِي. Remove any difficulty from our tongues. يفقهوا قولي, so that we may be comprehensive. Inna alhamdulillah, verily all praises are for God Almighty. Nahmaduhu, we thank Him. Wa nasta'inuhu, we ask for His help. Wa nastaghfiruhu, we ask that God forgive us. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina. We also ask that God protect us from the evil of our own selves. Wa min sayyi'ati a'malina, and from our own bad deeds. من يهده الله فلا مضل له. Whomever Almighty guides, none can guide. ومن يضلل فلا هادي. No one can guide. ونشهد الله but one God وحده لا شريك له أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. To all life, nothing more than that, and a messenger. وصلى وسلم على رسول الله. May the Prophet, peace and benediction of Allah be upon the messenger of God, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and may the peace of God be upon all before him, Abraham, Noah, Lot, and Jesus. Peace be upon them all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Of course, tolerance begins with listening to prayer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawal. Put your hands together for me. Now, after opening prayers, we'd like to invite our president, Mr. Ahmed Umerolu, to give you the opening address. Please, your hands together for Mr. President.
Welcome. I have to remove my Christmas. And it is open to quick protocol, but because of Mike. And it is from the exit protocol. It is both an honor and privilege to welcome you all, and to extend a further heartfelt and sincere word of welcome to everyone here this evening in the special occasion of the Tolerance Week hosted by Ufuk. Thank you all for coming. In 1996, the United Nations General Assembly, by Resolution 19-51, invited United Nations member states to observe the International Day for Tolerance on 16 November. This occasion followed up on the United Nations Year for Tolerance in 1995, proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 at the initiative of UNESCO, as outlined in a Declaration of Principles of Tolerance and follow-up plan of action for the year. The United Nations is committed to strengthening tolerance by fostering mutual understanding among cultures and peoples. This imperative lies at the core of the United Nations character, as well as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and is more important than ever in this era of rising and violent extremism and widening conflicts that are characterized by a fundamental disregard for human life. In light with the outsourced statement of dialogue proclaimed the entire week from the 16th to 20th as the Tolerance Week. This lies on the belief that Ufuk Dialogue was founded to promote dialogue of coexistence, mutual understanding, and to establish a common platform aiming information and opinion exchange. We hold these truths to be self-evident that the individual who is conscious of divine creation is first of all a hero of affection. Such a person is deeply concerned about every existence, embraces everybody and everything compassionately. With what he or she sees the existence of other religious beliefs and psychological beliefs of a reality, and constantly seeks the ways of living together peacefully with other people, with the idea of accepting others in their own place and respecting everybody. He, she never despises or hurts anyone because of their ethical origin, religion, beliefs, dominations, or just because tolerate our differences and all points of convergence is the bedrock of the establishment sound and all inclusive sustainable development. We are fortunate to witness participation that's focusing of the individual's consciousness. You also their ideas for peace and future of Nigeria, of your country, and Pakistan is going to be very effective for the public as well. Although there have been some recent provocations based on conflict that appear to be religious oriented almost everywhere in the world and in Nigeria. I hold to believe and hope that Nigeria is slowly proceeding toward a peaceful and happy future, thanks to the broad-minded people like you and the educated generations who will the future with hope. At this junction, I hereby would like to propose an idea of Fethullah Gulen, who is the inspirer of a civil society movement, saying that in opposition to those who impose their own beliefs, hopes, and ideas to others, the concerned people, no matter from which religion they are from, should constitute a group of people of consciousness and show the rest of the world that it is possible to live together peacefully. So let's cooperate. Let's cooperate in order to create a peaceful world desired by every person. Let's come together, listen and understand each other with empathy, and look to the events from the mirror of justice and reason, not the partnership of one group. This is the dream that we carry through the world, that something wonderful will happen, a peaceful world. There is only one way to smile, is smiling together. Long, long may our friendship and fellowship continue. May God bless our world. May God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much. May God bless.
Thank you indeed, Mr. President. Tolerance, intercultural dialogue, and respect for diversity are more essential than ever. In a world where people are becoming more and more closely interconnected, this is why we people together are joining here to celebrate the Tolerance Week. To proceed, I'd like to introduce our guests one by one and then let them come to the stage. First of all, we'll begin with Dr. Ahmadi Boboyi. Dr. Ahmadi Boboyi hails from Yola in Adamawa State. He obtained his first school leaving certificate in 1971 at Fufore Primary School. He proceeded to Government Secondary School, Yola, and then obtained his West African certificate in 1975. He got admission into the Northeast College of Arts and Science in Maiduguri, and then in Northwestern University, Evanston, Illinois, USA. He bagged a bachelor's degree in art and then followed by a master's degree and a PhD degree in history of educational and in 1992. He is currently the Executive Secretary of the Universal Basic Education. However, today he is being represented by Malam Mawadatu Madawaki, the National Coordinator of E-Learning Program, UBEC Abuja. Please, Mr. Malam Madawaki, we'd like to welcome you to the stage. Please welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Reverend Dr. Gregory Orban, the Secretary of Interreligious Dialogue, representing the Nigerian Catholic Bishop. He is also as a scholar of the religious and cultures. He had traveled and given lectures in many parts of the world, including Australia, Southeast Asia. He officially represents the Catholic Church of Nigeria, a friend of Ufuk dialogue, and a strong advocate for multiculturalism and tolerance of a better world. Welcome, Reverend.
Before proceeding, we'd like to acknowledge some people who are amongst us. We have the women wing of CAN, Mrs. Wanko, representative of National President Dins Ola, and Mrs. Maria Musa Muhammad, principal of Conference Section Senior Special Assistant to the President of the Disability Matters. Welcome. Ma'am. We also have Mrs. Nana Fatima Idris, Communication Officer at NIREC, and OSCGF Presidency. Welcome. Ma'am. Now, we'd like to invite Mrs. Stephanie Safia Abdul. Mrs. Stephanie is the founder of the PPEG Initiative, a non-governmental organization that is focused on social inclusion and empowering the youth with the requisite skills, knowledge, and resources to be value-adding members of their communities. Through the PPEG Initiative, Ms. Abdul has led various community development and empowerment programs, some of which include the Fight Against Hunger Project, which offer relief materials to vulnerable communities and impacted over 100 households. And the Say No to Rape, Say No to Racism campaign, which provided mentorship platforms and support groups for victims of rapes and all forms of injustices. Ms. Abdul is an ambassador for peace and goodwill and an active member of the Young African Leadership Initiative, YALI, a platform created to support young African leaders as they support growth and prosperity, strengthen democratic governance, and enhance peace and security across sub-Saharan Africa. She is also an active member of Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, an independent policy institute created to promote dialogue on significant development in international affairs and policy responses. Through these platforms, she has obtained certificates and has lent her voice in discussing important matters on subject interest. Please, Ms. Stephanie Safia Abdul.
An activist, he works to make the world a better place for the less privileged. He obtained his BSc in accounting and business management at University of Jos Plateau. He was the director of administration and programs at CHEDRA. He was program officer at the Center of Peace and Advancement in Nigeria, and was the program officer at German Development Corporation. He's currently the deputy manager of the UN Women. Welcome, sir.
Now, I would like to invite yourself to the stage for the discussion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to have you here today. My name is Bexigoni Ahmed. I am the vice coordinator of the women's platform here at Ufuk Dialogue, and I will be the moderator for today's event. So we're going to start with a discussion by Professor Hamid, and I'm sure you've all heard about him. Please have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. members of the High Table, invited distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present. As you have heard earlier, I am not Dr. Hamid Kobo. My name is Malam Wadato Magawachi, and like you have heard, I was the Director in charge of academic services up until 2nd October 2020. I retired, but I was called back to handle another assignment for the commission, and that's why I'm the national coordinator in charge of the e-learning program. We wished that you would have been here together with, called on by the Honorable Minister, and he had to rush to the Federal Minister of Education. That's why he asked me to quickly represent him at this very important ceremony that is the Tolerance Week. Okay, I am not presenting any paper. However, I'm going to talk on the issue of tolerance. You see, tolerance, according to a loose dictionary definition, is the ability or willingness to accept or tolerate opinions or behaviors that one dislikes or agree with. You are able to tolerate or you are able to accept behaviors that you dislike. You don't like them, but tolerance demands that you accept them the way they are. That's what we call tolerance. It will also be the capacity to endure continued subjection to something. So, however, in the context of today's presentation, tolerance, as we say, is the ability or willingness to accept and tolerate others irrespective of their differences, whether they have what we want or they don't. And this goes from individuals to groups to societies. You don't have to like somebody to tolerate that individual. You don't have to come from the same family, from the same group, from the same religious faith before you say you tolerate that individual. Tolerance demands that whoever he is, whatever he is, you accept him for what he is, just like you expect that he should accept you for what you are. So in a multifaceted society we have today, and a world that has become a global village, people from different races, religious backgrounds, geographical entities, political affiliations, traditions, and cultures have become one as a result of socio-economic, religious, and other interactions. We do business together. We move into the market together, irrespective of our backgrounds. We go to religious, even if we belong to the same religion, we are from different tribes, from different we go to worship the God that we worship. That's what is called tolerance. So whatever interactions we are doing, we go there, we do together as we tolerate one another. A rope that ties us together, that ensures unity and cohesion in our day-to-day interactions. For us, at the Universal Basic Education Commission, tolerance should be inculcated at the tender age of our children. While the home serves as the point of tolerance inculcation, the school should consolidate on achievements on the home front. Our children should be thoroughly trained in the art of tolerance. It should be noted that at their tender age, tolerance is cemented as a trait in our children. Go to the kindergarten, up to primary 1 to 3, possibly up to primary 6, you find out that the children hardly differentiate between a boy and a girl. They hardly differentiate between a housewoman and a Yoruba man. They hardly differentiate between a black man and a white man, a white child. They play together, they act together, they read together, they work together, they share everything together. But as they continue to grow up, and because of interactions with the elders and the environment, sentiments begin to be, and you see changes begin to come in. Then intolerance begins to creep in as well. So that they say, oh, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm Hausa, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm Tukui. That we start getting those differences, and because of that negative sentiment, we find out that we're having problems. However, parents, teachers, elders, religious leaders, all other stakeholders have a very important role in influencing positively the tolerance traits of our children. We believe this should start at the kindergarten level. The inculcation of tolerance should come at that level. So that by the time the children grow up, they have already been, empowered with that trait that they can be able to look at each and every individual they come across as a human being, not as a Muslim or as a Christian, a Yoruba or a Igbo or whatever, but first and foremost as a human being, and interact with that individual as a human being. It should also be noted that all our religious scriptures have incorporated and they have it enshrined that we should all be tolerant of one another. Our religious differences should not be a barrier to our interactions. Our religious books have said we can move together, talk together, live together, do business together, stay together, and even intermarry amongst ourselves, irrespective of our differences. So that is what we're after, what we call tolerance. So this presentation, as is organized by the Ufuk Dialogue, is a very important presentation that is welcome and has come at the right time when we have so much problems, when there are misunderstandings between individuals, there are wars between communities, villages, we have tribes, and even countries. We have crises. These are avoidable challenges if only we can apply that little word, that single word, tolerance. So tolerance is very, very important. It's the salt that can ensure that the soup of life is sweet and is eatable. So stakeholders should take tolerance, that it's a very important threat, and ensure that our children practice it in all facets of our interactions. On behalf of the Deputy Secretary of the University of Education Commission, Dr. Hamid Boboy, I wish to congratulate the President of the People and all those who have led this activity possible for their effort in ensuring that they selected a very important topic. As we came out of the crisis of COVID-19, we are now talking about the issue of tolerance. We need to tolerate one another. We need to accept one another. We need to look at each other as human beings and to ensure that at the end of the day, we come out stronger and we are able to face the realities of life together as human beings, not as individuals from different backgrounds. May the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our tolerance and understanding of one another. Thank you very much.
Just to outline a few things that you just mentioned. Tolerance, it's about the acceptance of our differences, and then in order to achieve the difference that we want, we have to teach our kids at a tender age how to tolerate one another. One of the elements of correct understanding. So now let's hear from another wise man, Reverend Father.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. President of FUBOK, I greet you, and I'm happy to see you being the very first official outing you are having since you came on board and started heading this great project. And I also greet my brother there, quietly supervising and Ahmed and all of you who are here, many of you I know, some of you I don't, and I'm happy. I just want to sit down because I will find it a little comfortable. And I would like to read, because no one has told me yet how long I have. But whenever you feel I'm not, I'm talking to mentor, just let me know. Please. Okay, this 15 minutes, and I think I can make it. You see, the greatest war that we have had in history, I mean, arguably the greatest war was the Second World War. A lot of people lost their lives. And we are not really sure how much religion played, religious intolerance played in making that war possible. But we know that among the various parties that were fighting that war, each had a stake. Some of them had one religion, the other, whether east or west, to legitimate the crisis. You see, the easiest way to crucify and kill someone is first of all to demonize the person. And demonize the person, then you are not able to really do what you want. And that is why you say, give the dog a name to hang it. Because if you are not able, we are by nature humans, and we have the feeling enough that a human being is not to be killed or to be persecuted. But to be able to do that, you have to first remove humanity from the person. Make sure that you no longer see him as a person, then you'll be free to do whatever you like. And it starts with intolerance. Calling someone another name so as to be able to be in position to crucify him. However, religion has always been a useful tool. It has also been a positive element in uniting various segments of society and various parties. It has helped in many ways. You can have an argument going and coming on whether religion has been useful in uniting or making the world safer and more peaceful. You may be on the side of the positive area and say, well, religion has been a good element. You may also be on the side of the negative. What that we have had, religion has played a very big part in fomenting and fanning the embers of violence. But we can say, from what we are seeing today, forget about the Second World War. Many other wars, in our final time especially, the religion has been a major part. May not be the thing that has started those wars, but it may be the thing that has made the wars much more potent and powerful. Or even if there were no wars, there are sometimes silent wars that go. Look at the American society, we thought was stable and everything was fine. Until one man just came in. And what did he use? Religion, intolerance, bad language, and everybody just took it off. No one would ever thought that America as a country will elect a man like Trump. And no one was, even themselves couldn't believe it. Obama said he never thought American would be so hopeless to elect a man like President Trump. But it has happened because he actually tapped into the worst aspect of human nature. That worst element, this is for me, this is for us. He tapped into it and they followed it. But you can see what has happened today. As we say in our place, a whole town, or even a country like America, can gather together and buy a cock that does not crow. Normally, if you buy a cock in our side, in our land, to sacrifice, normally it must be a cock that has fully grown, and fully grown will mean that it can crow. But when a whole country decides to buy a cock that does not crow to sacrifice, that is a disgrace. That is what we are seeing in the case of America. And is something that is surprising, but these were also results of intolerance in these areas. The current fanning of the embers of violence in many parts of the world, including Nigeria, is being exacerbated by religious intolerance, promoting religious worldviews and intolerance are facing only enemies and no friends. You see, when you are in a place or you are in a situation where you only see your enemy and you don't have a friend, you don't see a friend, that is the worst situation. This in history we knew of the general Titus, who later became Emperor Titus, when he was fighting a war and came together in a mountain. By the time he arrived there, they had made the bundle together in one particular part of the mountain, in a place called Masada. By the time he arrived there, the people were so afraid, they pursued them to that place, and they remained there and locked themselves in. By the time the general got there, they had all committed suicide. And he said, Titus, the general said, I thought you were a wise man. He was talking to the dead leader of the group. He said, when I told you not to go into this war, you did not listen to me. A wise leader must be able to know a friend at the same time as enemy. Because when you are not a leader, you don't know the difference between an enemy and as a friend, you are not a good Now, in spite of what we are seeing going on now, there are positive elements that happened both last year and this year. We have had Naoki in the president of the shape of Al-Had was in Egypt and the Vatican in Papa, where the press will work together. The written document. And along that line, too, we have seen a lot of developments in the Arab world and the Middle East that has given us a lot of hope that we can do work together. But the point is, if these developments are everywhere, have we been able to start it over? In Nigeria, you see that we are going backward. Relationships among religions, especially Islam and Christianity, you don't look at the progress that is happening in other parts of the world. They seem to show a lot of immaturity in the pronouncements of individual leaders of religion on both sides. Nigeria, as a country, is a privileged place. We are privileged to be in one country. And despite the fact that many righteous-minded people want the country to be together, the situation of competition among Muslims and Christians, although it's better at breaking out difference, there has been more division and manifest violence in the West. But since Nigeria is only in peace, we must act and speak words of peace and tolerance. We have nothing to lose if we choose the path of tolerance and understanding. Let us establish channels of communication. We must try to communicate. Because it's not imperative that as religious leaders, we must try to come to a new place where we can now make efforts to establish channels. Let us make channels and form channels of communication. We have to reflect constantly on the meaning of tolerance and method. And we start with the theory of the faith. What I understood when it means to live down outside this country and faith. Then I formed a friendship with the Africans. Whenever I would go somewhere, I would call him to come and take me. Then one day he was questioning, he said, I've not really asked about this. He now asked my name and all that and all that. Then at the end he said, are you from Kano? I said, no. Are you from Kaduna? I said, yes. He said, do you know Kaduna? I said, I know Kaduna, I know Kaduna. I said, have you been there? I asked him, have you been there? He said, no. After asking me all these things, and now I'm still asking me, he said, was my Muslim in your place? I said, yes. My own brother, with the same mother, is a Muslim. You live in the same house? I said, yes. You really live in the same house? Yes. Then he looked at me and said, well, there are two things in this your claim. Either you are lying or your brother is a bad Muslim. So I said, but I didn't understand what he meant. But the only thing I knew was that there is someone who did not really understand what diversity meant. And the thing is that he was not privileged to grow in a place where I grew up.
You say we may see Cairo interact, as I have interacted with Muslims. It was always difficult for him to understand that a Muslim and a Christian can live in the same house. For him, was a very strange idea. But for me, it was not. Now, I now look at it. It dawned on me that his understanding of two different religions that cannot coexist is clear. This is a distorted view of religion in all its meaning. I can only think along with Fethullah Gulen, who said, we must now begin to critically review our understanding of religion. At the end, we must examine critically the essential aspects of what we believe. If you are religious, what can you really say you believe? Can you actually summarize your belief? This is what I believe. This is the essential aspect of my religion. Because every religion has a core. What does my religion say? What is it that I believe? I know whom I believe in. I know whom I accept. I know what I believe in. And I know the one who is righteous to give me the Christ. Not only to me, but to all those who believe like me. That is a man who knows, who knew the essence, who believes. Why can I encapsulate the essential of my belief? Lead you to keep people who disagree with you. And so we must do some self-examination. The believer refuses to be taught or refuses to examine what others say about him or her, and about life generally is intolerant. Examine life is not what we know. But the time you are not able to learn from another person because it's different from you, not able to reflect on the views of another person because it's different from you. You have gone beyond the state of religious to the state of irreligious. Because it is by looking at the meaning of evil, you appreciate good. It is by looking at the meaning of religion, you can recognize irreligion. It is by looking at the meaning of love that you can recognize hate. It is by reflecting on the meaning of enmity that you can recognize the meaning of friendship. Opposites can be possible when we deeply reflect on their meaning. This is what Dalai Lama, the Buddhist monk, said. He said, in the practice of tolerance, one's enemy is his best teacher. As religious leaders, we must understand with truly that whether you're a Christian, that is Jalal-Hashim Aro. He said, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or Christian or Jew or Zoroaster, every one of them has a secret way of being with you. Where we are coming from and where we are going. What do we contribute as a legacy for the future? How will my end be judged by history and by posterity? What have I been able to foster? Friendship or enmity, love or hate? What progress have I made in contributing to living in peace with myself and with others? What have I taught others to live, to believe in, peace or enmity? Now my life experience. I have a friend who is late now, and his name was Abdikarim. We grew up in the same town. He was a student and was living in our house. He's a good now. Married from our house, we went away. A very, very bad heart strong one. We were very, very and he will always write to me. He said, I have no one to pay the school. You will pay the school for me. And that is what I will do.
I pray their teaching. And we are still like people. They are religious teachers in your place. The people pray for answer. And so, religion is different to me this look. But it may mean a lot to you who never grew up in that situation. So I can excuse you. Because I'm an Islamic life. Because your bigger than yeah. If I could live in that kind of person, grew up with that kind of person, I was part of it. I dropped to be that, but it's a matter of person. Today, there are many challenges in the difficult path to living the life of tolerance. Well, as my brother has just said, tolerance was just defined. But I know very well that tolerance is actually to be true. Because no, I understand you, let us live together. Religious difference. Religious dialogue, as I understand it, contains two things. I learn about you, you learn about me. And we have to see what I can gain from the learning from you. Because if after studying Islam for so many years, living with Muslims for so many years, and I can learn nothing from religion, then I am a failure. If you are having a dialogue, even here today, and you go without making effort to learn anything, and take it home from Christianity, you have faith. And this faith will be because if you don't learn from it, you will not be able to appreciate what you have. Because you take what you take from others, you take from others, our culture becomes you see, divine challenges are there. One is misinterpretation, misunderstanding, misappropriation of the scriptures, and wrong teachings by religious leaders, with materialism as their aim. The aim of these, or some of these leaders are willing to, for politicians who want to suppress others, is to achieve domination. This type of religion, social media, to promote people to be this kind of thing, is not right. So if there was religion intolerance, it is not religious tolerance intolerance. Because now it has become another thing. That is why we say when we refer on social media, it is not possible. Because before the news comes out, wait, before you wait, and before you control it, you can't run what you already doing. You can't control the that is how bad the world has become. So if they respect you, you just have to manage it and try to provide what we have. What I'm saying is, we must start what we have. Try to look at it more possible. Most of the things we do are not bad. Even if they were bad, there's a way we can rewrite it and it can be better. Dubious teachers of religion about the business. The question is, if I'm religious, what do I consider before I deliver my message? How can my message be a positive one to cancel what has been done back? For me, I want to positively impact people during my life. I would like to do my best to deliver a positive message. I want to look at the essentials and the basics of my religion. What is in the important? So, I would say tolerance is possible if we make a conscious decision to work and practice it. We should not be afraid. Let us judge the goodness that is present not in our religion. Our religion is good, and it can give us the power to live a better and positive life. And we must also trust the goodness in us. We must also trust and have faith in humanity. Let us not human beings so weak. We are very strong. We can do better than what we do. We are a religious teacher. We must begin to think. So, brothers and sisters, we thank God for giving us the conviction in the unity that we have handed over to the world, to us. And giving thanks, we must also be fulfilled. That God has not handed this world over to any man to control, to any woman to control. He has not handed it over even to the devil. Let us do that. And let us see that the power we should pray God has given us to force you to back. Thank you for what you do. God is still in control. We believe we will take out the blessing to the Lord.
Now, according to the section that is found in 40% in Nigeria has come from religious side. The Kafanchan crisis, the Maitatsine crisis, the Zambangkata crisis, Boko Haram, and so many more. Therefore, it says tolerance is a term which is sometimes used in places of respect, mercy, generosity, or forbearance. It is the most essential element of moral systems. It is a very important source of spiritual discipline and celestial virtue and of perfected people. This means that without tolerance, we will still have those crises every day. And according to another research, religious intolerance kills people. That's why tolerance has to be part of us, not something we are striving to have within us, but an inherent part of us. Now I'll hand the microphone to the moderator.
Thank you for talking about the importance of diversity in the brain study. Because in Nigeria, because Nigeria as a country, we can achieve so much if we actually reach one another and mention coexist with each other. It begins with tolerance and respect for everyone. Let's look into this subject enlightenment. Even everyone, my brothers, I can see my brothers here, my brothers here, my brothers, my sisters, even my family. I would like to thank the previous speakers for sharing their wisdom on today's occasion, and once again welcome you to the celebration of the International Day of the Power. Most importantly, I would like to thank and the president for the amazing speech he gave earlier. Okay, a lot of you already familiar with this occasion, while others are not. And to them I say, sit back, relax, and enjoy our Bible. My name is Safia Abdul. I am a daughter, a friend, and most importantly, I am a woman, just like you are. So let me take this off. Okay. To be human is to be flawed, to sometimes live with a lot of lingering questions about yourself and the world you live in, and to live a life with a little sense of direction. It is knowing that we're never promised tomorrow, rather we learn to live in the moment and make the best of the moment such as this. According to Mahatma Gandhi, the greatness of humanity is not in being human, but in being humane. And for me, my understanding of being humane is to have and show compassion, love, respect, and humility for others, even people who are undeserving. Before I go further, I would actually like to engage the crowd and ask you all the question. I would like to ask you all, what is the one thing that when you look around, what is the one thing that no matter how hard you try, no matter what, it can never be changed? I don't know if I can have I think I see students, if I can have a female and a male answer that question. What is the one thing that no matter how hard you try, it can never be changed? Mr. President, would you like to answer?
So students, please benefit from this. Don't make me call one of you to answer. You're checking the
Let's change.
where I would like a student actually, a male and a female, but I guess you're all shy. But it's fine. Yeah. Are you trying to raise up your hand, darling? You? You like only scientists cannot change it. Okay, go on, please. There's no wrong answer. We're all learning it. That's what tolerance is about, learning about one another. No matter how hard we try, we can't change who we are. That's amazing. Thank you. Can I have one the lady, please?
No matter how we are trying to change, we cannot change life and need.
Perfect. Like I said, there is no wrong answer. Can we have a round of applause for those things? Okay. It is clear that we do not share the same belief. It is clear that we do not come from the same background. Neither do we have the same skin color. But you know, the truth is that our skin color should not change who we are, because that's just what we are on the inside. But like I said, no, there's no wrong answer. But for me, my understanding of that question is that no matter how hard we try, the thing we cannot change is our blood. You know, when the skin comes towards something harmful or harm or you bleed or anything, we all bleed the same color. You might be white, you might be green, you might be purple, whatever it's skin color, but once you're injured, we bleed the same color. So you know, if the one thing that keeps us alive on the inside, if the one thing that gives flow to our blood and our heart and everything is our blood. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. If the one thing that keeps us alive is our blood, if it's the same thing, then why do you try so hard to cause conflict between ourselves based on what we look like from the outside? Purple, not turquoise. I hope your language is turquoise. So yes, the aim of today's occasion is for dialogue, to share our views and opinions on love and tolerance in hopes that we all live here with a much better mindset than we came. A few weeks ago, I started reading a book given to me by my very dear friend here, Ms. Sumaya. It's a book by Mohammed Fatul entitled Towards the Global Civilization of Love and Tolerance. The intro, the first sentence in the book states that was what caught into my attention. He says, love is the most essential element of every being, and it is the most radiant light, and it is the greatest power, able to resist and overcome all else. Love elevates every soul that absorbs it, and prepares these souls for the journey of eternity. When asked what is love, it is clear that everyone has a lot to say about these four words. To some, when you mention the word love, it triggers a negative emotion. And to others, it makes them smile so sheepishly. Like if someone asks you what is love, I'll just start smiling like a fool because love means so many things for me. I believe that love is an elixir. As humans, we live with love, we're made happy by love, and we tend to make those around us happy through love. In the vocabulary of humanity, love is life, love is patient, love is kind, love is not just a word, it's an action. Tolerance, on the other hand, is having a deep respect for humanity. It is more than just the social pretense of acceptance. It is the true acceptance of ourselves and everyone around us to the point that even when we're alone, we relish in the respect that we have for humanity. Tolerance, I believe one of my speakers mentioned, tolerance is the acceptance of diversity, accepting ourselves for who we are, not what we are. Tolerance is the acceptance of diversity in the human race and recognition of the strength and beauty that exists in our being different. The fact that we're different, that shouldn't separate us. That's our beauty, actually. You're short, you're tall. Oh, okay, nice. You look beautiful while being short. You look beautiful while being tall. We should appreciate these traits rather than let it distance or separate us. Every day we have the choice to either be right or be kind, and to choose kindness always is what keeps us tolerant. We cannot understand the struggles of others until we have walked in their shoes. We may never have the chance of walking in another person's shoes, but we definitely have the opportunity to make their journey much easier for them. The need to evaluate our definition of tolerance has become more necessary than ever before, especially with the ongoing chaos around the world. Let us take a look at the timeline of 2020. With the pandemic came the exposure of deep hatred that exists amongst us humans, despite the great solidarity it brought amongst us. The news of racism, violent attacks, rape, gender-based violence, and police brutality brought lots of negative reactions, some of which led to the protests such as EndSARS, Secure North, Say No to Bad Government, so many things. Even I think the Black Lives Matter, those are the things that happen. If you look from the pandemic to now, we're still in the coronavirus era, but hopefully we'll get out of it. Secure North and many others. All of this happened globally, and regardless of our differences, we were still able to find a common ground. That was what we were still able to find a common ground. That was what led to our formation. But you see, where there is change, there will always be opposition. And the sad truth is that whenever there's a revolution, there's always bloodshed. But let us be realistic with ourselves. The people who have died so far, they didn't die for nothing, and let's not let their death be for nothing. We should also strive to be much better so that their death will be for nothing. I think I'm repeating myself too much in that part. Okay, so this is how a change is born. This is why we're here this evening for dialogue, to rub minds and seek solutions. We may have to stop ourselves. When did we stop racism? Today, people are talking about so many things. The danger of war and frequent clashes, water pollution, air pollution, hunger, and the increasing erosion of moral values, and so on. As a result, many other concerns have come to the forefront: peace, contentment, ecology, justice, tolerance, and dialogue. Unfortunately, despite certain promising precautions, those who should be tackling these problems tend to do so by seeking further ways to conquer and control nature and produce more lethal weapons. Therefore, our civilization will not progress until we treat the sufferings of humans equally and respond to all sufferings with the same determination. A lot of the problems we face today could end with a little bit of compromise and a little bit of tolerance. When warring parties decide to cease fire and listen empathetically to the other side, when preconceived notions and stereotypes are replaced with true experiences of learning to know one another on an individual level, my question remains: how much tolerance will the world be if we let go of the bad we've heard and start to accept ourselves for who we truly are? In a world that spreads the message, we should love and accept people for who they are. Our world today could learn a lot from reevaluating and redefining tolerant behavior. We need to take charge of the media and the stereotypes that they portray. We need to create a safe space for dialogue where everyone, whoever you are, wherever you can come in and sit and discuss peacefully without the fear of someone harming you. And also, once we create this space, we need to ensure that their voices are heard and their actions, proactive measures are taken towards creating sustainable solutions for them. The media should portray the beauty in individual acts rather than the horrors in crowded behavior. I believe that the true portrayal of human solidarity and social consciousness should be the new norm. Tolerance itself should transcend gender, ethnicity, age, status, and all other social labels. Tolerance is seeing peace straight into their souls. Humans are 99.9% genetically similar, so why let the other 0.1% divide and plunge us into oblivion? Our world is facing severe financial, health, social, educational, mental, and environmental issues, challenges. A lot of these issues are caused by fear, and by this I mean the fear of the unknown. We're so worried about the actions and the next steps of our neighbors, where we should be worried about our own actions and how it affects others. The first step to solving these problems require us to learn to love, tolerate, and be kind to one another, and to learn to be our brothers and sisters keepers. So we have two choices. We either face everything and we either face everything and rise, or we forget everything and run. Intolerance is the first sign of inadequate education. An ill-educated person behaves with arrogance and impatience, whereas a truly profound and educated individual behaves with humility, which then translates to love and tolerance. Love and tolerance are indeed the only answers, and do not speak of the romanticized version of love and tolerance, but rather the practical and humanities version. I'm a student of politics and international relations, so I guess that's why my speech sounds so diplomatic. Okay. We as a people must come to understand that man is inherently good and wants to be kind, if for nothing but for the sense of gratification that comes with being good towards others. Which is why I would like to end this note by saying, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Hate cannot drive out hate. The only way to do so is with light. And for us to create a better tomorrow is with is to learn more about love, learn and educate ourselves and others about love, tolerance, and dialogue. This is how we need to guide ourselves and the next generation for better and more peaceful world. Once again, my name is Dr. Sophia, and thank you to Ufu for recognizing me to speak to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wood. I'd like to use this opportunity to acknowledge Reverend Father Emmanuel Unambra. He is representing the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Father Ignatius Kaigama. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Now we'd like to hear from Mr. Mentor.
So let me start also by congratulating the Food Dialogue, Mr. President and your team, for organizing this very important event. A lot has been said. A solid foundation has been established on this subject matter, so it makes my work very easy. First, I would like to start by saying, as I sat here, I looked at the audience, and I see diversity and I see beauty. And I compared it to a similar conference I had last week. I was in Bauchi State, where I was facilitating a training for men. We call it the UN, they call it the He for She campaign. Thank you. He for She campaign, where we mobilize men to become gender advocates, advocate for the rights of women. So it's a global campaign that has been launched in Nigeria, and we are also trying to launch it at the state level. So we mobilize about 35 men, religious leaders, traditional rulers, different stakeholders. And when I stood up to talk to them, I said, this hall is so boring. I'm seeing the same faces, all men, and I said, that clearly shows that if we are not a diverse society, it will be a boring place to be. And I said, for me, what I recognize by that is that God is a God of diversity. Have you asked yourself, why is it that we have some blacks, we have some white, we have some tall, we have some short? Different colors, different orientation. Is because the world would be a beautiful place where we are diverse. But like it was rightly established, diversity is a strength. And Nigeria is a diverse country, over 200 groups. And a lot of people, scholars, even peace-building practitioners, sometimes will argue to you that why we have incessant violent conflict is because we are so diverse. And I say, but if you go to the US is a diverse country. Why are they not having incessant conflict? They are able to manage their diversity. And as we talked about tolerance, I think consider is how can we tolerate each other? Because I know a lot of people will tell you we have not been trained to tolerate each other and we are asked to tolerate each other. It's not like I went to facilitate a training, you know, where they were telling some adolescents, abstain from sex till you get married. And most of them say sexuality in the African context is a silent issue. Parents find it difficult to talk to their children about sex. And yet you tell them to abstain. They don't know how to abstain. So as we talk about tolerance, how do we tolerate each other? So my presentation will focus more on that. We can tolerate each other by first recognizing the fact that we are created to be diverse. And our diversity, our orientation is informed by different factors. I'll give you an example, and I usually use that example when I'm facilitating training on peace building. If you bring somebody, maybe from a village, a remote village in Nigeria, who has never seen the four corners of the classroom, and he's about 21 years old, and you bring him to sit here, and you bring his peer from the US, who has gone to Harvard University, the best schools, and you also sitting beside the other person, and you begin to ask them questions. What do you understand by global warming, for instance? What response do you expect from this one that have never gone to school, may even give the best answer? But you see, they are not likely to be the same. Why? Because our perception, our orientation are informed by a lot of factors. I tell people I'm a Christian, but I also tell people that I'm likely to remain a Christian because I was born from a Christian family. I tell people if I were born in a Muslim family, I'm to be a Muslim. Our body is a lot of things. Now, some people eat it. Some people will say, God forbid. But you see, we are all right. And that is what tolerance is all about. Recognizing the fact that we are not the same. We are humans, like you rightly mentioned. If you cut my hand, you will see the same red blood, regardless of my color, my country, or wherever. But we have different perception. Like I said, it's influenced by many factors. So how do we begin to respect that fact? And I think that is the beginning of tolerance. Respecting the fact that we have different perception. I always tell people, if I write M, somebody from there will say he's not seeing M, he's seeing W. Another person from over there is saying he's not seeing W, he's seeing 3. Another one will say, no, he's seeing E. But do you know they are all correct? Depending on the angle you sit, that is when you will be able to define it. And that is what diversity is all about. And I tell people, conflict is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, we must have conflict. And before I go further, let me define conflict. Simply define conflict is disagreement. That's the simple definition of conflict. And whether we like it or not, we must disagree. In China, they always look forward to having conflict. You know why? Because each time they have conflict, that brings about development. I tell people the best friends, when they have disagreement and they reconcile, they understand each other better. This EndSARS protest we are having now, if there is disagreement between the youth and the government and they sit to dialogue on those issues and they reach a consensus, there will be better relationship between the government and the youth. So the gap that exists is dialogue. So you cannot talk about tolerance without dialogue. We must sit to understand each other's difference. And that is where the gap exists. Most times we stay from a distance and we conclude that the other person does not have the same orientation about me, therefore that person is bad. I tell people, Christians and Muslims, I was in Benue talking about peace, And some of the people say, look, our greatest enemies are the Fulanis. They've killed our people and all that. And I tell them, do you know the Fulanis? Not all of them are bad. Do you know we have good Fulanis? And do you know the indigenes of Benue, we also have bad among them? And I shared my experience. During the crisis in Jos, the major crisis, the sectarian crisis started in 2001. At that period, I was having my NYSC service in the northeast, the east, in Anambra State specifically. I was serving in a bank, and then my bank manager called me that some people want to come kill me. Because during the crisis in Jos, most Christians, the Igbos were killed, their corpses were taken back home to the east. And all they were telling them is that they were killed by the Hausas. And if you live in the east and you come from the north, I'm from Jos, they see us as Hausas. I'm not Hausa. But as far as they are concerned, there is a Hausa youth corps member in this bank. We must kill him. It was a struggle. I said, my name is Peter. I'm a Christian. They said, no, you are Onya Hausa. That's how they call us. It was a struggle because I shed tears because I saw innocent Hausa people being attacked. And that was what informed me to be a peace advocate. Since that day, I made up my mind, I'm no longer working in a bank. I'm going to go into development work to make people, because during the crisis in Jos, I see so many Muslims that save Christians. And I saw some Christians that save Muslims in the midst of the crisis. In fact, we gave them an award. And I told the people in Benue that this Fulani you see, there are good ones. I testified, I shared with them some of them that saved the lives of Christians. But you see, we always have this orientation that any Hausa, especially if you are from the Middle Belt, you hear Hausa, Fulani, they are your number one enemies. But that is not, and why that persists is because there is no platform for dialogue. We just sit from a distance and we conclude. In the midst of the crisis, if you know Jos very well, because of the crisis, there is a divide. There are no go area for Christians, no go area for Muslims. For instance, where the University of Jos is situated is an area dominated by the Muslims, Angwan Road or Bauchi Road. Before the crisis, Christians reside there. But after the crisis, in fact, now if you want to go to the university and you are a Christian, you rather go through a longer route just to avoid passing that. So it has created a divide between Christians and Muslims. Christian cannot go there. Muslim cannot go to the other divide. And during the crisis, I went to the mosques, the central mosques. It was all over the news. People said this is a suicide mission. How can you go to the mosques? I went in, sat with the imam, and we discussed. And when we came out, some of my friends who are Christian asked me, what magic did you do? They didn't kill you. And I say, you see, that is the orientation you have. Because you don't dialogue with them, you find it difficult. Sometimes these people are the ones that you should even be celebrating. Ladies and gentlemen, the point I'm trying to drive out, as we mark this Tolerance Week, let's create the space to talk to each other, to dialogue with each other, to understand and respect the difference. God that created us did not force us to believe in him. You have the choice to take left or right. So why are we imposing some things on people and saying that, look, if you do not follow my way, you are not doing the right thing? Why do we feel our own way is the best way? So for me, that is the foundation. We must respect diversity. Diversity is part of human existence. In fact, I tell people diversity is a strength, not a weakness. Because when you bring your different potentials, different gifts, different talents, and you bring it together, you become a great nation like the United States of America. Why US is great is because of the diverse nature of that country. People from different countries came together to be one United Nations or one United, sorry, I work with you, and so I say United States of America. That is the beauty of diversity. And if you look at, the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN have actually stressed the fact that, look, Look at the MDGs, the SDGs, and any development goal. Diversity in the SDG is key. Why? Because globally, leaders among nations have come to recognize that it has come to stay. It has come to stay. And we must respect that. We must appreciate that. That is the only way we can resolve our conflict. There is a prominent peace building practitioner, John Paul Lederach. He said, if we want to live in peace with one another, we must create a social space to achieve three things. First, we must tell each other the truth. And he said the truth should not just be any truth, but he called it naked truth. What do I mean by that? If I kill your father today, and I come and tell you that I kill your father, sorry, not you. I'm just saying the naked truth, right? If I kill your father and I come and I tell you that I kill your father, that is the naked truth. There is no coloration. And he said, if you do not tell each other the truth, and I had dialogue with the Hausas, with the indigenous and the so-called settlers, the Fulanis and the indigenous in Jos. I tell them, you know what? Why this conflict persists? We don't tell each other the truth. You go on media and you say, oh, we have reconciled our differences, but you go side and do the opposite. So John Paul Lederach said, tell each other the truth. And that's what tolerance is all about. The fact that you are hurting me doesn't mean I should just tolerate you and persevere. There's what we call elastic limit. As individuals, we are bound to break. It's not like, okay, let me give this example. You know, I'm very tall. Let's imagine somebody short wants to come pluck a mango, and that person cannot. So I say, come and stand on my shoulder. Let me pluck the mango for us. And then the short person keeps plugging and he's eating, and he refused to give me. I said, give me one. He said, no, he keeps eating. I'm tolerating him, right? But do you know, as humans, there's what we call elastic limit. I'll get tired. And when I get tired, what do? I'll throw him off. Why? Because tolerance must be respected. He's not respecting me. So what I'm saying is that we must tell each other the truth and the naked truth. Now, if we tell each other the truth, John Paul Lederach said the second social space we must create is forgiveness. If I tell you I killed your father, I've told you the truth. Are you willing to create space to forgive? So what he said, yes, you are entitled to your opinion, but the truth of the matter is you have to forgive. Because if you do not forgive, there is no way there will be peaceful coexistence. That's the truth. You must forgive. As difficult as it may be, in fact, if you do not forgive, you carry a burden in you. So you are also suffering from it. And he said, fine. Once you forgive, the third social space we must create is justice. Yes, but you will not get away with it. That justice does not mean they will kill you, because if they kill you, then peace is inevitable. Recognize the fact that, yes, we advocate for tolerance, but we must understand the difference, must be open to dialogue and differences, because we are different human beings. We may have the same blood, but we do not see things the same way. And because of that, we are likely to disagree. I have people that do not disagree with my values and my beliefs, but I have to respect them because their foundation is different from mine. Their orientation is different from mine. But most of the time, we are quick to condemn people who do not have the same values, the same orientation, the same foundation with us. So that's why I give those examples. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment for us to promote tolerance. But as we do that, let's also ensure that we also encourage people to understand the different elements that will make tolerance possible. Truth, forgiveness,
create space for dialogue, create space for interaction, to understand each other. As a child, I must tell you, my best friends in schools were Muslims. And then we were always debating about the Bible and the Quran, trying to understand each other. Even though I'm not a Muslim, I can read. And they also read my Bible. And I tell people most times, because we do not read the other person's teaching, we just conclude that, oh, this is bad. And that is ignorance. So we must shift from that position of being ignorant to understand the different people we live in or we live with. And that's the mistake most of us make. We don't want to interact with the other divide. And that creates distrust, disharmony, and suspicion. I was able to go to the mosque in the midst of the crisis, but I in fact, I did not even, like have a second doubt. I said, look, nothing will happen to me. Why? Because I was able to build confidence in that divide. They say, oh, this guy is a Christian, but he's very neutral. Why? Because as an activist, I condemn the government when they do something that is not proper. When they do anything that is good, I support them. If my indigents, the so-called indigents and the Christians do anything that is not proper, I condemn them. And people were like, oh, we thought this guy is one of us. I say, no. Remember one element I talked about tolerance, truth. If you are my dad, my brother, blood brother, and you do something wrong, I will tell you that what you did is wrong. And that is what most of us do not have. That courage to meet our own and say, look, what you did is wrong. So please, let's learn to be bold. Let's learn to be open. Let's learn to tolerate. And the only way we can do that is by understanding each other. This world we live in is a beautiful world because it's a diverse world. And we cannot change it because that was how God created it. So we have to be different. I don't want to stop because I'm seeing different colors, different personalities. Unlike the one in Bauchi, all men. And I told her I don't want to stand for too long. I'm seeing the same kind of people. And that is what diversity does. It brings the beauty in us. And God did not make mistake by creating us as a diverse people. Thank you very much.
It says, sooner or later, if man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our heart with tolerance. In this note, talking of diversity and our differences, God himself in his holy scripture said, if I wanted to, me, God, who created you, I would have created you, the same community, the same people, the same that's why we say different religions, different ethnicities, so that you enjoy the differences, you bring yourselves together, and then you try for the development of your community. So our differences should be our strengths. Our points of divergence should be, as he mentioned, our points or our space to dialogue. Therefore, I would like to acknowledge the presence of a person who is in our midst, Mr. Kelechi J. Osuji, the National Coordinator of Young Students of Nigeria. Please present. And before we go further, we have two braves to be reading a poem for us. And the poems, both of the poems are named Love and Tolerance. Please let's welcome Opera Chioma from SS2 Science and Rambo Karimatu from SS2 Science.
Good evening. My name is Opera Chioma. I'm a student of NCLC. I'm here before you today. David said, love your friends and hate your enemies. But now I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Our human mind is designed to build, invent, innovate. And this can only be done when we come together as humans to do this. For where there is dissent, there can be no progress. We see this in the war that is still going on in Syria. We see this in the Israeli-Palestinian war. We saw in America, like sometime this year. We see this even in Nigeria, in the tribalism, and then the back. So to overcome this lack of progress, to overcome this destruction, we must invite tolerance. And what is tolerance? Tolerance is me looking at the person beside me, understanding that he or she is different. They might be different in race, in hair color, in tribe. Looking at that person and not seeing the differences, but seeing the human soul that is in that person and respect contradictory my own. And the best that is in hand with love, unconditional love. Love that is patient and kind. Love that is not arrogant or boastful. Love that does not wrong, but rejoices in the right. Homes of you, love that never ends. Because you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
To love or to hate, choices we constantly make. To recognize someone's pain and innovate change, or to turn a blind eye and just walk away. Some people suffering as obvious as a rhino's horn. Others, their cries louder than a lion's roar. Yet we tend to just look away and ignore, just because sometimes their religion, ethnicity, tribe, color, or language of their cries differs too much from ours, or at least we find ourselves thinking so. Because all of a sudden, to even fathom all of the suffering they've been through is too much effort. It doesn't affect us. It's not me and you. But what we fail to realize is that never will we progress if we're in opulent mansions while others are in utter unrest. If only we would love and tolerate. Then maybe we'd realize how important it is to be with others, even if it's just morally. And if you care to see, love and tolerance correlate beautifully, because when you love, naturally are you inclined to tolerate. And as children, people did for us the same, so why is that so hard to replicate? If we love even our neighbors just a little bit more, when trouble comes knocking, we open our doors. When you love someone, you want for them only the best. So we'd make sure everything's all okay, and we'd be the first to try to make a change if things didn't seem that way. If we would tolerate others' mistakes, knowing it's very possible for us to do the same. We mess up, it's true, but the people who love us forgive us when we do. If we were perfectly aware that no matter your religion, color, hair, ethnicity, tribe, your social status, to the color of your eyes, at the very end of the day, God made us from the same dirt and clay. If people can hate without knowing even a name, then surely for love we can do the same. We need to really take time to internalize that our differences are what make us strong. United we stand and divided we fall. If only we love in the place of hate, then this world would be a much better place. It's not easy, that much is true, but we here have to try, because it's the small steps that make us strive.
The future is bright. The future of this country is bright with brightness, really bright. All right, now we'd like to present certificates to our speakers. And we'll start with the representative of Dr. Hamid Boboye. And I'll invite our president to present the certificate. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. And secondly, Reverend Father Gregory, and we invite the president of MSSR, Mr. Umar Faisal, to present the certificate. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming. Thirdly, we have Mr. S. Abu, and we invite Reverend Father Emmanuel Ananda to present the certificate of honor. Thank you, Mom. We appreciate it. And lastly, we invite Mr. Peter Mancha, and we invite our Vice President, Emra Ilgen, to present the certificate. Thank you to all of you for coming. And now we would like to have a family picture together with the speakers, Mr. President, Vice President. Please. Mr. Peter, you take the family picture. Reverend Father Emmanuel.